"This is part of Bear Trail," said the boss. "Yes, I know," said Joe. "That's why we came. This Bill was a very strong man, so I thought maybe he had worked years ago in lumber camps." "Well, I'll ask my men," said the boss. "I'll find a way to let you know if I hear anything." "We're going to stop at the old village," said Joe. "If you do hear anything about this man, send someone down by canoe. I'll pay for it." "I guess not," laughed the boss. "Too bad if I couldn't help you out. I'll be glad to let you know anything I hear. You have 2 looks and a carry before you get to Old Village Lake." "Breakfast!" called Cookie, ringing the bell. Soon the men were eating great plates of quick bread, but Cookie had made beautiful brown pancakes for the visitors. They ate them with butter and brown sugar. "I'll help paddle today, Henry," said Alice. "Thanks," said Henry. "We'll get along faster that way." After breakfast, everything was packed up again and put in the canoes. The children did not forget to thank Cookie and the kind lumber boss. Very soon they were on their way down the lake. The day was beautiful. They saw 2 interesting things. They paddled around the first look and saw a moose swimming to shore as fast as he could. Around the next look, they saw a beautiful deer standing in the bushes. "I'd like to go around these looks," cried Benny. "I'm glad we came. Now what's next, Joe?" "Well," answered Joe with a funny smile, "soon we'll get out and carry the canoes." He winked at Jessie. "Can I carry one?" asked Benny. "No, certainly not," said Joe. "Henry and Alice will carry one with the things still in it. That will be right side up. Then I will carry the other upside down on my head. You and Violet will have to carry some bags. Not as much fun as you think. You see, this lake stops just ahead, but there is a very big lake not far from here. That's the last lake for us." Henry and Joe soon pulled both canoes up on the shore. Alice took one end of a canoe under her arm, and Henry took the other. Benny laughed and laughed as Joe put the other canoe upside down on his head and walked off down the path. Benny and Violet came after with the bags. It was not very far, and Alice was glad, because the canoe was heavy. Everyone sat down by the next lake to rest. "What a beautiful day this is!" cried Jessie. She could not help it. The lake was the biggest one they had seen. The water was very blue, and the trees were very dark green. "Let's rest a long time," said Joe. "We have a long canoe trip ahead of us. There are not many good places to land for dinner." But at last he got up, and they were on their way again. This time they did not paddle out to the middle of the lake. It was too far. "Stay near land, Henry," said Joe. "Then we won't have so far to paddle." But when he said this, he did not know how lucky they were going to be. The 2 canoes were going along smoothly. Nobody thought of rain. Suddenly Joe looked up at the sky. "Look up, Henry," he called. Just at that minute the wind began to blow. All of a sudden the smooth lake was very black. Soon it was all covered with small waves, then big ones. For one long minute Joe stopped paddling and looked sharply along the shore. "Get to shore, Henry!" he shouted. "Just as fast as you can! Land between those 2 large trees!" He had to shout, for the wind was making a terrible noise. They turned both canoes. By now they could hardly sit up. Alice paddled without a word. Henry's canoe went first. Then it began to rain. The rain fell so fast that in 1 minute they were all wet through. But they thought of nothing but getting to shore. "You can make it, Henry!" yelled Joe. "There is room for us both to land. Get over to one side." Henry and Alice paddled under the branches of the 2 trees and drove their canoe up into a very small opening. "Get out quickly!" cried Alice. "Pull our canoe out of Joe's way so he can land too." They did so. Even Violet helped. Then they waved to Joe. "Okay!" he shouted as he began to paddle straight in. Just then, a big wave hit his canoe sideways and washed the bags of food and dishes into the lake. "Never mind!" he yelled. "Let them go, Benny, and sit still." Then, with one strong push, he drove his canoe up beside Henry's. He looked at his young wife, who was very white. "Thank goodness," said Alice. "We are all safe." She put her arm around Violet, who was shaking with fright. "We'll have to do something right away."